All right, everybody, welcome back. This is the Horn Takes podcast, your very rough around the edges Texas sports talk destination. I am your host, Sean Redfern. It is Friday, folks. We made it to the weekend. We're obviously excited about that. We got some Texas baseball to talk about. This is going to be tough. We got some Texas football to talk about. Got the big spring game maybe happening tomorrow. Weather is not cooperating. A lot of schools have already, well, I won't say a lot of schools. I know of at least one school that has already canceled their spring game. I'm sure there are others because I think there's supposed to be just some pretty widespread weather problems throughout the weekend across the Southeast for sure. We'll talk about these WNBA salaries. Every single year, it seems like we have to be all up in arms and there has to be this big controversy and all this to-do and scuttlebutt about WNBA player salaries. So we'll talk about that. If y'all are going to talk about it, I got to talk about it. And then we'll talk just a little bit about the Colorado comedy show that's going on up there in Boulder, Colorado. You guys know my thoughts on just the entire Coach Prime, Daddy Ball, cult following. I've made it very well known what I think about that whole situation going on up in Boulder. And so I just want to, I'm going to talk about it. When it's a joke, I'm going to talk about it. When it's good, I'm going to say it was good. Y'all are just going to have to get used to that, learn to like that. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Obviously, we're streaming live to YouTube right now. If you don't like to watch videos of people talk about sports, you can check out just the podcast at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com or pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we are on iHeart. Just search for Horn Takes Podcast and you are bound to find it. Texas baseball, man, what in the world is going on? I do not understand this team. I haven't understood it all year, but it's like unbelievable how good this team can be at times and then just how absolutely terrible this team could be at times. And I don't know that there's been another stretch of 4 games that really personifies those two qualities in this team as the last 4 games they've played. Let's talk about it. First of all, Texas 22-16 coming into the weekend, 9-6 in Big 12 play, which I don't know how they're 9-6. I mean, I do. Like, they won 9 games, they lost 6 games, but I just don't get it. They're 4th in the Big 12 today. And honestly, man, they've got just as good a shot as anybody else at being there at the end and winning the Big 12. But let's talk about this Houston series. So much like almost every single series in the Big 12 they've played this year, they lose the Friday night game. And it's not pretty. They come back on Saturday. They find a way to win Saturday. And then for about 8 innings on Sunday, they're just getting their asses taxed by a very bad Houston baseball team. Houston is not good at baseball. They're just not. And so I'm sitting there thinking, man, God almighty, they're going to drop another series, this time to Houston, who is also bad. They dropped the series to BYU. And then, you know, everybody's down because you should be, because BYU fucking sucks at baseball. And then you look at the schedule and you go, okay, well, at least they've got Houston and they've got TCU. And surprisingly, not surprisingly for Houston, but surprisingly for TCU, they're one of the worst teams in the Big 12 right now. They are, a matter of fact, I think going into last weekend, they were the worst team in the Big 12. Houston was the second worst team in the Big 12 statistically or, you know, records wise. So you look at that upcoming stretch and you think to yourself, okay, well, it's a good time to get back on track. It's a good time to pump those numbers. And we headed into Sunday, just, you know, I don't know. I don't think anybody was up or down necessarily heading into Sunday this weekend, but it was kind of like one of those must-win things, I think. Like, we had to win that series against Houston, or the fucking wheels were just going to completely come off, right? Like, you guys remember, what is it, National Lampoon's Vacation, after he ramps his fucking truckster into the desert and he gets ripped off by the sheriff guy, and he's just driving away from getting his car fixed, and the tires and wheels are just wobbling on the all fours, right, of that freaking family truckster. That is what Texas baseball was doing heading into Sunday's game against Houston. And I'll be damned if Houston didn't jump all over them. This game's over. It's over. Texas kind of crawled back. I mean, it was, 7-2 for the longest time. I think it was 7-2 for the longest time. And then I think it was around the eighth inning, Texas gets another couple runs. It was either the seventh or eighth inning. They get another couple runs to get in striking distance, right? And that's all. I mean, if you can get within 2 or 3 runs, you're like in striking distance. The odds aren't great. The probability isn't good with one set of outs to go. But at least you're there. Like, if you get some guys on base, you got a shot, right? I think when you're down like Texas was down, that's all you can really expect to do is get yourself into a position where you got a shot if some things go right. And that's what they did. They end up ripping off 8 runs in the top of the 9th inning to make it 13-7. I think it was 13-7. I may be wrong on the exact specifics, but roughly that's where we're sitting. Crazy top inning. Like, the guy that got the first out also got the second out at the plate for Texas. I can't remember even who it was. But that shit was just unbelievable. You talk about get them on and get them around, man. I think they hit 2 home runs in the inning. And they come back and they win that game against Houston, like, pretty inexplicably. I mean, I think almost every Texas fan going into the top of the 9th inning of that game was just like, man, they are fucking done, man. This is just, it's over. It's it. They're just not good. We're just not going to do anything. We're finna lose a second Big 12 series in a row. But that's not what they did. The team, I mean, they fought. They fought hard, right? And so, I mean, I think that's what you want from a baseball team that's struggling. You got to fight, man. You got to fight for every single at bat, every single play, every single pitch when you're on the mound. It's got to be a fight. And they haven't done a great job of doing that. And they did it against Houston. And so I think after that weekend series, a lot of Texas fans feeling pretty good. Maybe not like everything's great. I know I wasn't thinking everything's great. I'm thinking it sure is pretty lucky that we got 8 runs in the top of the 9th inning. So then we roll into the midweek game against UT Rio Grande Valley, formerly known as UT Pan American, formerly known as the University of Pan America or Pan America University, whatever. They haven't beat Texas since 1970 or 1971. They hadn't beat Texas in Austin since like 1956. The all-time record is crazy. Like, I think they've beat Texas 6 times heading into this game on Tuesday night in the history. And they played they played close to 60 times, 60, 65 times. So just pure domination, what you would expect, the flagship school against, one of the satellite schools in Texas. You would expect Texas to just win that game. I think UT Rio Grande Valley, I saw that they come into this game Tuesday night with an RPI of like 250 at a 300 team. So they're awful. They are not good at baseball. And they absolutely just dropped a country ass kicking on Texas. 17-9. And you know what? I'm not even sure they dropped a country ass kicking on Texas. Texas dropped a country ass kicking on themselves. Texas pitching gave away 20 free first bases in this game. 20 free passes, 11 walks, 9 hit batsmen. And then they threw 3 wild pitches. And this is across 10 pitchers. Like, think about that for a minute. when that one was over, I kind of was sitting there, you know, and I was like absorbing it. I wasn't even mad. I was just like, what in the fuck happened? And I turned and I looked at my wife and I was like, man, I don't think I've ever seen a pitching staff of a little league team, like 12U and up, be that bad with command. 11 walks, 9 hit batsmen. I mean, I wouldn't swear that I haven't seen that in Little League Baseball, but I don't remember it. And that is what happened on a Division I baseball field Tuesday night. It's almost like so shocking you don't have words. I don't know. Like when I started seeing so my son had a baseball game, so I didn't get to see this thing. So I'm listening to it. I have to listen to a lot of games. I'm listening to it. And I don't know. I don't even remember what inning it was, but it got to 6-1 or maybe 7-1 or something like that. And I just was fed up with it because of the way it was happening. So I just turned it off. And then I started seeing all these tweets about all these crazy, you know, stat lines and shit. Another crazy one. I don't remember what the year was, but there was a game, I think it was against Army, that went like 25 innings or some shit. It was a regional game. I'm almost positive. Texas, and that's the game that Texas set the all-time University of Texas record for pitches thrown in a game. It was like 302, and I'm going to be off on these numbers. I'm guessing it was right around 300, and I threw 302 because I don't know, it just sounded kind of cool. 300 plus pitches with 3 different pitchers in that game in a 25 inning game. Guess what the number 2 game for amount of pitches is by the University of Texas? It was Tuesday night's game against UT Rio Grande Valley, where 10 pitchers in a 9-inning game threw 250 plus pitches. Just gross. And so you start thinking about like the state of the program. We talked about it last week. It's a dumpster fire. It is an absolute dumpster fire. Oh, the other crazy thing, Jared Thomas starts the game. Yeah, the first baseman starts the game on the mound for Texas. And I don't have a huge problem with that. Like in a vacuum, I don't have a problem with it. A lot of these guys, most of these guys pitched in high school or pitched in summer ball if they didn't pitch in high school. So like your best players, a lot of times, your best field position players have pitched before, especially at that level. So in a vacuum, I don't have a problem with Jared Thomas being, getting some innings for the Texas. He was supposedly was very, very good in high school. Like good enough that like that was like he got recruited to be a pitcher by some schools. But what makes it just the optics of it so bad is Texas just cannot find anybody that can come in and consistently throw strikes in these midweek games. So much so that it's been a plan. David Pierce says it's been a plan for the last few weeks to get him in one of these midweek games and let him pitch a couple innings. And I'm sure why is because, well, first of all, why is because he can't find anybody else. 2, maybe he thinks Jared Thomas can give him some innings, and maybe that's something he goes to, later on in the season when they really need a couple innings. He didn't pitch bad. He gave up a home run in the top of the first, 1-run home run, single, a solo shot. And then he comes right back in the bottom of the first and gets his own to tie it up. And I'm trying to think. He might have given up one more run in the couple innings he pitched. But he wasn't bad. Made one mistake. But just the optics of that are just so bad. For a guy in David Pierce that I think is already, like, you know, as a whole, he's lost the fan base. The fan base is, I mean, there's guys out there that are going to still say, oh, it's not his fault. You know, players got to execute pitches, da-da-da-da-da. But I think generally speaking, the Texas fan base is kind of done with David Pierce. David Pierce is not a likable dude. Whether all the things that are true about his ability to keep coaches on staff or just sort of the abrasiveness that, you know, there's rumors out there that he's just an asshole. I don't know if they're true. I haven't had anybody credible tell me anything like that, but I've heard it a lot from a lot of different people. You see it a lot from a lot of different people. You just wonder if there's some smoke there. And certainly he's not a likable guy. You know how you just look at people and you just go, man, I just don't like that guy. He's one of those type dudes where you just look at him and you just like, I don't like him. But Texas fans were willing to put up with it because the team was success. You know, the team, not only were they successful, but they just weren't embarrassing. This year is just embarrassing. Just flat the fuck out embarrassing if you're a Texas Longhorn fan. And nobody likes to be embarrassed. And unfortunately, I think, I don't know, I would be very surprised if David Pierce is the coach for the Texas Longhorns next season. I mean, there's crazy, insane, like, you know, emotional Twitter guys that say fire him now. And I don't know what good that would do. I don't think there's I think there is a use case for firing a coach like in the middle of the season. I don't think he meets any of those criteria. To me, it's like you did some illegal shit, like you're in trouble with the law. You know, to include like striking players, physically assaulting people, shit like that. You know, if it's a safety concern, you can't have that guy representing your university and being around those guys. You just can't do that. I don't think any of that stuff fits the David Pierce situation. But again, the problem for him is Texas is headed to the SEC, and his record against SEC teams is shit. Like, I feel like if this Texas team was in the SEC right now, they might have a couple of wins in conference. Because that's a tough league. I mean, LSU is getting their dicks knocked in the dirt in the SEC this year. At least they were, you know, up to a couple weeks ago. I don't know what they've done since. And they handled Texas pretty easily. So A&M handled Texas very easily. Vanderbilt came back from, I don't know, down 7-8 runs to beat Texas and really made it look easy while they were doing it. The Pierce thing is just so crazy to me because this is a guy we're talking about that has taken Texas to 3 College World Series in his 8 years. He almost took them to the 4th, which would have been the 3rd in a row, which puts you in some very, very, very small company as a coach from a coaching perspective. Not a lot of baseball coaches have taken their team to the College World Series 3 years in a row. And Pierce was just, you know, a couple of plays away probably in that Stanford Super Regional from doing that last year. One of those 3 teams had a legit shot at winning the whole damn thing. Again, just like a couple plays away. The other 2 were just completely non-competitive. They were teams that got hot at the right time. Super regionals. I guess the 2018 team got hot right at the end of the season and just ran that straight through the regionals and in through the super regional to get in. I mean, most college fan bases would look at that and go, how in the hell are you even thinking about firing this guy? Texas fans, we're just different, man. We got problems. I can admit it. We've got problems. I just think the problem is, man, the state of Texas is so good at baseball. And the University of Texas has so many resources. And that program has been so good for so long. You just can't. You cannot do what he's doing right now, which is just embarrassing the university and embarrassing the fan base. And I mean, and he's the pitching coach. We're talking about the same guy that ran off another pitching coach last year, and a good one. Widely regarded as a good pitching coach. He runs him off and says, I'm going to be the pitching coach. And now we don't have anybody that can consistently go into a game and not piss down their leg. That's not good for David Pierce. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. All the hand wringing and all the negative you can talk about this team. They're fourth in the Big 12 right now. There's a lot of series left. I mean, they have and they get to play. I'm trying to think. The only team they don't play this year is West Virginia. They don't have to play West Virginia, I think. I'd have to verify that. But I don't think they play West Virginia, who I think sits atop the whole deal right now. But other than that, they get to play everybody that's above them. They sort of control their own destiny, I guess is what I'm getting at. But man, I don't know. I mean, this team is as liable to just win a game 7-2 with behind some nice pitching and really good consistent offense as they are to do what they did on Tuesday. Which is just like, I just don't get it, man. I don't understand. I don't understand how you walk 11 dudes and hit 9 dudes in a baseball game, a college baseball game. So is it for Pierce, man? I don't know. You got to think CDC's looking. He's looking around. Maybe he's floating some conversation pieces out there. At the very least, you got to think that's happening. And maybe that's something these ADs do all the time. I imagine they probably keep like a short list of like, these are guys I would go talk to. I don't even know who would be on the short list. I mean, I think maybe the guy out of East Carolina. A lot of people kick out Vitello from Tennessee. I don't know. He just doesn't do it for me. I mean, there's a lot of guys throwing out Schlossnagel's name, the coach at Texas A&M. I don't know. I mean, unless he's made some comments about like basically saying that like Aggies are fucking crazy, which, you know, that's fair. But man, they pump a lot of money into that program. They've done a really good job, upgrading their facilities for baseball. The fan base is rabid. And he's got them ranked number 1 in the country right now. I just don't know if Texas could do enough to pull him away. And I think the same applies for a lot of these guys in the SEC. I think the only thing Texas has over a lot of those SEC programs is just the name across the front of the jersey. I don't think the facilities are as good. I mean, we're still playing on that garbage ass turf from like, I mean, it was like the same run from the factory of turfs that they fucking put down at the original Astrodome, I think. It's just, it looks terrible. I mean, they added the Yeti yard, which is cool. I think it's a cool idea. But man, you go to like, I think it's Arkansas. They have like this, very beautiful lawn out in the outfield. And I think it's free admission for that. And you can bring coolers in. So like people line up for this and they come in, they're all sitting out on the lawn. I don't know. The atmosphere at these SEC stadiums for baseball and just like the overall like support from the fan bases, I think Texas is way behind on that. Other people disagree, and that's cool. I may be wrong. I mean, there's all these talk about, the NIL money not being great for Texas baseball, and certainly, I mean, you look at LSU. I mean, they went and I'm not saying this in a bad way. They went and bought a national championship last year, and that's fine. Like, I wish Texas would start buying national championships in baseball. Because the arms we got, man, just go watch a bunch of SEC games this weekend. Watch the arms. It is not even close like what Texas has on their pitching staff. It's not even close. I mean, I don't think there's a single dude, maybe LeBaron Johnson Jr. He would probably start at a lot of SEC schools. He'd probably be one of the three. Just on a talent perspective, he's not pitching well this year. You can clearly see that having like 15 fucking pitching coaches in the last 3 years has just absolutely ruined his ability to pitch. And that's a damn shame because he is an ultra talented guy. But there ain't nobody else on that pitching staff that would pitch. In fact, there's a bunch of leftovers. There's a bunch of guys that went to SEC schools, didn't hack it, and so they transferred to other places before they went to Texas, or they transferred to Texas. They can't even hack it at Texas. I don't know, man. Baseball is rough right now. I say all this, watch us go out and like fucking sweep TCU or something. And I know TCU's not a good team, but it's hard to sweep anybody in baseball. Watch them go do it. Watch this guy pull like a rabbit out of the hat again. Like he's done it a lot the last few years. Things are going not so good, and then all of a sudden at the right time, maybe he's the magician. Maybe that's his magic, is just figuring out the team and getting them to go at the right time. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, if he can pull that rabbit out of the hat this season and get this team in the postseason and get this team a deep run in the postseason, that's some magical shit, man. That is like some miracle type stuff if David Pierce can do that. Because right now, it is gross. Texas football, the spring game, maybe tomorrow. Does it go? I don't know. The weather is I keep getting texts and emails from the University of Texas saying, it's a go, we're playing 1 o'clock. Here's the lineup. Here's everything that's going on. By the way, if the weather holds up, what a great time that's going to be. Bevo Boulevard, Reckless Kelly playing over on the LBJ lawn. Love Reckless Kelly. And then the spring game, there's going to be autographs by some select Texas players. I don't know who. So they seem to think it's happening. But I don't know, man. The weather says other shit. So it'll be interesting to see if it even goes off. If it does, the three things I'm kind of looking for is, one, no injuries. Like, we don't need that shit. We don't want anybody getting hurt in the spring game. Getting hurt anymore in athletics, man, it just really sets you back. Gone are the days where you can get hurt and like nobody else is working, so it's okay that you got hurt. Those days is over. So we're looking for no injuries, number one. I think number two, for me, is who can step up and provide some defensive line depth. I won't say we got lucky last year, but I think there was a lot of question marks coming into last year about who was going to replace Ojimo, who was going to replace Coburn, 2 NFL guys. And Byron Murphy and T. Sweat stepped up and played phenomenally. Can we do that again? And more importantly, I think, then can you find 2 guys that can kind of produce like that? Can you find some guys that can fill in behind them and still play pretty well? Because I think the magic of last year's interior defensive line for Texas was they could roll some guys out there when Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy got tired. They could handle business. Maybe not as flashy, maybe not as many like big impactful plays, but they could get out there and handle business and kind of control the line of scrimmage. I don't know that there's guys that can do that right now. Dre Bledsoe's a guy that a lot of people have talked about during the spring. Super athletic guy. I mean, he's a 300-pound dude that can do a backflip. Standing flat-footed and do a backflip. So, I'm not as worried about Vernon Broughton. I'm not as worried about Alfred Collins. I don't know that those 2 guys are going to be Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat. But I am a little bit concerned about who are the guys behind them. As you look at Big Sadir Mitchell, I think he ate his way out of playing time this spring. Ate his way out of reps. The dude weighs 372 pounds. That's just way too big. And then I think the third thing for me is what's the secondary going to look like? Can it kind of hold its own against probably one of the most talented? I mean, certainly you got to look at this wide receiver crew for Texas and say they got to be like top 10 most talented. I mean, there is like an insane amount of talent in that wide receiver room. So can this secondary, can they hold up to that? Last year, you look at this Texas defense, and I think you got to look at the secondary and say that's the weak link. That and edge rush to me, and I think the edge rush stuff has gotten better. When Sark first got here, it was just almost abysmal, and it's gotten a little bit better every year, but it still isn't like dominant like it needs to be. So can this secondary hold up to all that talent? I'm interested to see it. There's a lot of talent back there in the secondary. A lot of new faces, but a lot of talent. I mean, probably the most talented secondary group we've had in a long time at the University of Texas. So those are 3 things I'm looking for. I don't want no injuries. Let's see what that defensive line can do from a depth perspective, and let's see how that secondary holds up again against a very talented group of quarterbacks throwing to a very talented group of wide receivers. Transfer portal, full swing. I think the window opened up Monday. Out for Texas is linebacker Samaj Burrell, edge Billy Walton, offensive lineman Peyton Kirkland, edge Jamon Tapp. Jamon Tapp, probably the only guy out of that 4, not probably, the only guy out of that 4 that has contributed at all at the University of Texas so far. And I think he just got recruited over. I mean, I like Jamon Tapp. I thought he had some games last year where he was able to come in and kind of spell some guys and was pretty impactful. So to me, he's definitely too good to sit on the bench and kind of rot away at Texas. Like, he's going to go somewhere, and I think Jamon Tapp's going to be pretty good. I think Peyton Kirkland has the opportunity to go somewhere, and if he'll be patient and develop, he could be pretty good. Same with Billy Walton. I mean, I think Billy Walton came in as an undersized edge, crazy athletic. He's finally putting some weight on, but again, I think he just sees the writing on the wall. Like, I'm not going to get a chance here at Texas. Let me go somewhere else. So that there, with those 4 guys gone, that gets Texas down to 85 scholarships. So there's definitely going to be some more attrition because we already know Texas is hunting defensive linemen in the portal like it's going out of style. No secret whatsoever. I didn't think there was going to be any secret about this. You got to go get some defensive linemen. And right now, there's a couple guys, really 3 guys, but there's a couple guys that I think are pretty much coming to Texas. Arizona defensive lineman Bill Norton, he's visiting this weekend. UCLA defensive lineman Jay Toa, he's here this weekend as well for a visit. And the crystal balls are in. The word on the street is those guys are coming to Texas. And then you got TCU defensive lineman Dominic Williams. He's visiting next weekend. I think he's at Oklahoma this weekend. So there's 3 guys right there. And if 2 of them come, 2 more bodies got to go to maintain that 85 scholarship limit. So there's going to be more attrition. I don't know who it's going to be. I hate to speculate on that stuff. I think maybe, oddly enough, man, I think maybe Savion Red's one of those guys. The running back room is deep, and he put on a lot of weight, supposedly, this offseason. I think Savion Red's a guy that might get frustrated and move on. And who knows who else, man. Maybe another offensive lineman. They got a lot of guys. 15 or 16 guys, 17 guys, something like that on scholarship. Heard today that Quinn Ewers is not going to go very much in this spring game, so we're going to get to see a lot of Arch. We're going to get to see a lot of forgot the kid's name. The kid out of Cypress, Texas. He's a true freshman, big kid, 6'5", 225 pounds. He was a 4-star. I like him. I watched his film, when Texas started looking at him, and it was becoming apparent that he was probably going to commit. He's a pretty good ball player. I'm interested to see him play. Be interesting to see how much different with another year in the system that Arch Manning looks compared to last year's spring game when everybody inexplicably gave him shit for basically just throwing the ball away a lot. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. I'm excited, ready for football. Get to see some tomorrow, hopefully. WNBA salary controversy, man. I don't get it. Caitlin Clark, number 1 overall pick, not making a lot of money. I think her biggest year is going to be her 4th year of her contract, 90-something thousand. Her first year of her contract, 70-something thousand. And everybody's pissed off about it. We got all the people in the world running around, complaining about, no equity in pay, trying to make it a big political thing. You got to think a little bit. Some of y'all need to learn how to peel layers back on shit. What's on the surface is almost never what's really going on. The ladies in the WNBA are not getting paid a lot because they're ladies. They're not getting paid a lot because the WNBA makes zero money. If they didn't get subsidized by the NBA, the WNBA would be a failing business, and it wouldn't even exist. It would not exist. Nobody watches that shit. Nobody buys merchandise. Most people, if this whole Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese stuff hadn't happened the last couple seasons in the postseason, nobody would even be able to tell you who the number 1 draft pick was in the WNBA. I couldn't name 10 WNBA players off the top of my head. That's the reason they don't get paid a lot. It's not because people hate women. It's not because people are trying to take advantage of women. The fact that the WNBA even exists today is just a testament of how people are not doing those things. Again, the NBA subsidizes the WNBA. They pay off the losses that the WNBA incurs, to include salaries to players. So if you're not making any money, you can't pay people more money because you don't have any more money. And I know in today's day and age, that is like a foreign fucking concept. But if you only have so much money, you can't just go pay everybody more money. The funny thing is all these, these high profile activist people, it's the same damn people you hear about all the time, complaining about everything, making everything this, making everything that, never peeling back the layers, never like using some common sense. It's those same people bitching about this stuff all the time. How many of them are WNBA season ticket holders? How many of them have WNBA jerseys and WNBA hats? How many of them, do they even make WNBA cards? If they do, how many of them are out there buying WNBA cards? The answer is probably almost none of them because they don't really care. They're just using all this shit as another reason to bitch about stuff. There's an epidemic in the United States of people that are addicted to just bitching about everything. I wish the WNBA ladies would make billions of dollars for the WNBA and they could all get paid millions. I don't have a problem with that. But that's just not the case. That's just not what's happening. I think the other thing, they only play 4 months out of the year. If I could only work 4 months out of the year and you guaranteed me $75,000 to $95,000 a year for those 4 months, I would do that. Damn straight. And almost every single person on the planet would. So if you're one of those people that just gets all upset every single time this woman pay for play thing comes up, like, please, for the love of God, use your brain. Like, stop just being outraged about stuff and think for 5 seconds. Double-digit guys bailing on Coach Prime in Colorado for the second offseason in a row. Last year when this happened, we got told Coach Prime was just cleaning house. He had to get rid of all these players because Colorado sucked. And he was going to bring in his guys, and they were going to win, by God. I mean, I had people telling me they were going to win the Pac-12. There was select few people telling me they're going to be in the playoffs. Yeah, yes, sir. They're going to be in the playoffs. Well, obviously that didn't happen. And obviously they didn't win very much. They were 4-8 last year. But you got to hand it to Deion. The clown show was superb until they started getting their asses handed to them. I mean, they had the cult following was ready. They were there with their pitchforks, ready to fight and riot and anything else. Anytime someone said anything negative about Deion or negative about Colorado, he had it going. He had the media at all these games. He had people just acting like idiots. Got to hand it to him for that. The problem is the football team was bad. And now you got all of his guys, all the guys he brought in to be good. A lot of those guys are starting to jump ship now. Because they're starting to figure out what a lot of us already knew. Deion Sanders is only there for 2 reasons. 3 reasons, maybe. His sons, 1 and 2. And that kid that he got convinced to come over from Jackson State. The 2-way guy, Hunter. That's all Deion cares about, folks. He doesn't care about Colorado. He's going to leave y'all high and dry, Colorado fans. He doesn't even care about the Deion cult that he's raised. He's going to disappoint you guys too. You got the Sanders brothers begging on Twitter for people to DM them if they want to come play at Colorado because their dad won't go recruit nobody. It is a joke, folks. I mean, it is an absolute joke. I do not understand how anybody with any sense at all is still bought into this prime shit and this what's going to happen and we're coming shit that he's got going on at Colorado. It's unbelievable. You got him sitting back acting like it's no big deal because to him it's not. And the reason it's not, he's out. He's out after next season. If Deion Sanders is the head coach at Colorado after next season, I will be 100% surprised, and I'll have a big bite of my own damn foot. Because I honestly 100% think that is, he doesn't care. He's there for his boys. He's there to get it. He's there to try to get his boys into the NFL. And after that, he's going to bounce. When you start losing starters to the transfer portal, that's a problem. A lot of people lose people to the transfer portal. That's just the nature of the deal. You start losing starters to the transfer portal, you got problems. And Colorado's got problems. I know some of y'all don't want to admit it, and that's okay. It's going to be on full display again this fall. They're going to come out and probably beat some shitty team at the beginning of the season, and everybody's going to be, I mean, they may win 2 or 3 games. It's going to be all downhill from there, folks. Check us out next week. We'll have some spring game thoughts, hopefully. Hopefully they get the game in. We'll have some more Texas baseball thoughts. Are they good? Are they bad? We won't know until after the series this weekend against TCU. Check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. To follow and subscribe, please. We would appreciate it. Won't cost you guys a thing. Email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. You guys have a good weekend. Get hooked.